and let go of things that don't have meanings, because tarot actually does have meanings, and many of those meanings are fairly easy to detect. So let's say I were to give you what I have here is a series of oversimplified interpretations of major arcana cards. I'm not going to tell you what they are yet. You may be able to guess. Chances are many of them you will be able to. Take a minute and tell me, or, well, I can't hear you, but talk about what you see in this sequence. Then I'll tell you what I see, but it almost doesn't matter because you're going to see a pattern. Here's what I believe about tarot. It doesn't matter what you see. What matters is what you see plus you seeing it plus the person that you're talking to. And I can get into that a little bit more deeply. Here's what I see. Something dramatic happens that leads to an ending that allows me to see something clearly. Now, if I change a sequence, one sequence in that, the meaning changes because the context changes. Something dramatic happens that affects my heart, and I'm able to see things clearly. Something dramatic happens that affects my heart, and I'm suddenly not able to see clearly. Something dramatic happens that opens a key, and I'm able to see into the shadows. A guide comes along that opens a door for me, and I'm able to see into the shadows. Something ends, and that unlocks a door for me, and I'm able to see into the shadows. Something ends, and that unlocks a sense of peace. Again, the meanings that I'm coming up with, what I'm seeing in these simple, badly drawn images, don't mean as much as the fact that I'm seeing a pattern. You're seeing a pattern. You probably already have enough of a relationship with the tarot to know that the star, which is what this is, means something. Now, to me, it means something different than maybe it does to you. The star is one of the vaguest cards in the deck, especially in my readings, or in my reading of things in the past. Contextually, the star sometimes means literally being a star, like a diva. Sometimes it means peace. Sometimes it means quiet and solitude. You know, it depends on the context. In this case, I decided it was peaceful. Something ended and unlocked a sense of peace. My brain recognized a pattern. Your brain recognized a pattern. As I change the sequence of cards, an ending gives me a guide that brings me peace. An ending brings me light that brings me peace. An ending lets me see something that gives me a sense of peace. And if this sounds a lot like Lenormand, it actually is. An ending lets me see something that allows my instinct to take over. So you can probably start to tell what cards I've represented here, and I'll lay them out in a minute and tell you what I meant them to be. But the thing that I like about Lenormand is that it is so terse, it's so sort of quick, that it allows you to just recognize patterns really quickly. Tarot can do that too. You recognize the pattern, but the thing that I like about tarot is that you then get to go deeper. And I'm going to show you that in a minute. So clearly this is death, this is the sun, this is my simplification of the hermit, this is my simplification of the tower, this is my real simplification of the Hierophant, which may be controversial, the moon, the star. But you get what I'm going for. You recognize patterns, and then you give them meaning. And then you can give them further meaning with a question. You know, if someone came to me about a relationship, and these three cards are what came up, what I need to do is identify a pattern within them. Someone comes to me and asks about a relationship, I'd say the relationship may be ending. If I don't want it to, I need someone to guide me how to see the best in my relationship. Or, you know, I'm worried about my relationship. Look for a guide who'll help me end that worry so that I can see the best in my relationship. I'm seeing the best in my relationship, but a guide will show me that it's ending. Again, this is sort of very Lenormandy, but the point is the pattern. The point is connecting the pattern to the context and to the question. And that you can do because you've been doing it since you were a kid. Tarot is no different. If you can trust yourself, then you can start looking at cards in the same way. There was something that had deep roots, it shattered, and I woke up. So, okay, there's a pattern. Now, I've recognized a pattern. I'm going to decide to trust what came up because me plus the question plus the cards plus the querent are the combination that are important here. It was meant for, I trust that I was meant to see deep roots shattering, waking up in this reading. Okay. So I'm trusting myself. I'm giving my permission to do that. Now I can go deeper. This thing that had deep roots brought me a lot of joy. It brought a lot of color to my life. I thought it was going to live forever. I thought it was going to be forever green. It was about emotions because I have cups. But suddenly it shattered. It broke apart and I was left in the dark, feeling isolated, feeling alone. It felt insurmountable. But then suddenly a light showed up and I woke up and I saw things I'd never seen before. So I'm able to take the initial pattern of deep roots, ending, and waking up, and then use the imagery on the card. And I haven't even really thought all that much about the prescribed meanings of these cards to get deeper and deeper into it. Something that brought me a lot of joy and color into my life that I thought was going to last forever ended. I felt in the dark. I felt isolated. I felt alone. But in spending time there, I felt the light come over me and I woke up and suddenly had a great awakening and I was able to see things clearly. It's the same thing all the way through, even with the court cards, you know what I mean? Uh so someone young and adventurous and someone who is sort of fresh-faced and open to emotions come together, and when they do, there's a great sense of emotional confusion. A union with someone emotionally well balanced and strong and um, really powerful makes me feel strong. Now, again, I'm not going into all the deep, layers of meaning here. I'm just talking about patterns and learning to trust yourself. Here's a really interesting one because in this particular deck, there isn't a whole lot to work with in terms of imagery. Now, I know what the Seven Pentacles means from reading other decks, but in this case, I get a sense of order, a sense of things lining up really well. So the pattern tells me that things are ordered. The Pentacles tell me that it's about life and work and practicality. So my life is really practically well ordered. Um, Even though there's some sort of complications below me, I'm able to float above it. And that leads me to seeing something new that I want to do with my life. I'm talking through patterns and then giving them meanings. Um, Now, because I know the Seven of Wands for me actually means sort of harvesting the fruits of my labor, I can do more with that, because I've studied and I've seen other versions of this card. So I say, harvesting the fruits of my labor makes me feel victorious, even though there's the risk that that sense of victory could make me tied down. I'm floating above that risk. I will open myself up to a new life path as a result. Or I open myself up to learning something new. Daughters in this deck represent pages. Pages to me are students. So there you go. I'm using patterns that I understand to make the reading make sense to me. Now, if someone says, what do I do with my relationship? This changes things. I have a lot of Pentacles stuff going on here. So how do I connect the Pentacles energy to relationships? Well, I have to be practical about my relationship. The fruits of the work that I put into my relationship have led to a really earthy, strong place. There's the tendency to get a little sort of trophy-ish with my relationship and treat it like a trophy. But if I don't do that, I can learn something new about my life. I'm doing this really fast, and it may deviate in a lot of ways from the traditional card meanings, but that's okay, especially when you're new and you're starting out, because that's really tapping into your intuition. And when you see a meaning really strongly in a card that deviates from what you've learned, that's your intuition. That's what you need to trust. It's okay. Do it. Look for those patterns. That's what you're trying to do, and you have that ability already. So trust yourself, see those patterns, Make those patterns make sense within the context of the question. I'm going to talk more about context in another reading. Um, but I hope the purpose of this is to help you see that you've got it. You've got intuition. You've got the ability. Trust it, go with it, and explore. I hope this helps. Let me know if it does.